Welcome to today's Noob Eternally suggestion review, and today, we're going to take a look at an amazing Choso suggestion that got pinned by Z, which already lets you know it's going to be pretty good. This suggestion comes with some images to help us see what the creator means with every move, and it also has some pretty creative gimmicks in my opinion that actually make it work. It's both unique while not being overly complex, and in my opinion, it's what movesets in Jujutsu Shenanigans should be, having their own gimmicks to set them apart, without being ridiculously complicated with way too many lines of text to make sense. Before we review the suggestion though, make sure to subscribe since it really helps out a lot and also lets you see more Jujutsu Shenanigans content. Now, let's get into the video. Starting with the R special, which ties into all of the character's moves, Choso is able to create a convergence orb by pressing R, with these orbs stacking up to 3. If the user is ragdolled, all the orbs are lost, in a way that's similar to how Divine Dogs works. What this basically does is encourage the Choso user to play carefully while stacking up orbs, before they rush in and make use of them and destroy their opponent with their buffed up moves. Meanwhile, whoever's fighting Choso will be encouraged to play pretty aggressive, or try to play passive and punish, depending on how many orbs the Choso player stacked up. If the Choso is still ramping up, they'll want to play hyper aggressive while they're still weak, in order to both stop them from building up orbs, and to do damage while they have the opportunity to do so. If the Choso is ramped up, they'll be forced to play a little bit less aggressively and defend against the Choso's attacks, since any reckless attack will get punished hard, meaning that they'll instead have to look for an opportunity to punish a Choso user so that they can ragdoll them and get rid of all of their stacks. It's a really neat R special that is both a unique gimmick and also something that fits him into his own type of playstyle. Now, moving on to the first move, which is called Onslaught if used with 0 orbs, it's just a basic combo extender with nothing to really talk about. Land it on 1, use it in a combo, and while it works, it is kind of boring. Though that might not be a problem since it is a 0 orb version after all. As for Bloodied Edge, which is a version used if you have orbs stored up, it functionally works the same way, but guard breaks. Something that actually opens up a lot of possibilities, because with a guard breaking move, especially a combo starting one like this, you can shut down turtling of something other than just block bypassing. This looks like rapid punches, and as a move that seems good for beginning a combo, it also seems like it'll be good for using up the orbs that Choso builds up when he's ready to go on fights. Choso's second move, when used with 0 orbs, is Blood Meteorite. This is a slower reserve balls that deals higher damage, and while I will say that it's nothing mind-blowing or creative, it does work fine as a combo tool. Plus, the standard for what 0 convergence moves are isn't that high, since they seem to be made as moves that the user pulls out of desperation when they have the chance, but didn't properly set anything up. So having them be pretty basic stuff isn't a huge problem in my opinion. As for the convergence variant, this one is a hit scan laser that knocks back anyone hit and deals damage. If held, it can be controlled for 5 seconds to do constant damage, and it's unblockable. Now, to be fully honest, this one is kind of crazy and not in a good way. An unblockable hit scan laser that can be constantly aimed for 5 seconds is unavoidable. Dodging the first hit of a hit scan is possible, but 5 seconds is a long time for people to just adjust their aim and hit whoever they're aiming at, which nobody, no matter who you are, is dodging. The only way I can see to actually counter this move is to Manji kick it or use something like Nue or Toad, which can't be interrupted, to cancel the move. And even then, you still take damage if you're using Nue or Toad. Take into account the fact that JJS mobility really isn't that huge if you aren't playing Yuji, because there's cooldowns on dashes and stuff to balance neutral, so even if you can dash to dodge the first hit, you'll just get hit when they adjust their aim, and there's nothing you can do since you can't block. It's simply unbalanced with no counterplay besides one specific move on one character, and to fix that, I'd say that you could make the initial hit unblockable, while any hit after the initial one becomes blockable, so that you could keep the continuous laser gimmick while still making it counterable. With that change, the move would be balanced. The third move, when used with 0 convergence, seems to just be an auto aim that people have to block, and while it sounds like it'd be a combo starter into a forward dash or something, I really hope it isn't since Choso already has 1 combo extender, and to have 2 would be broken. Generally though, this looks balanced. It's the same kind of move as Lapse Blue, which punishes reckless use and rewards the user for catching people off guard to hit them when they aren't expecting it, or just using it in a combo. Nothing crazy, but works fine. With convergence, the move becomes kind of like a Bushogama from ABA, if you know what I mean. It spins in place, stunning for what seems like a combo extender, which is pretty broken when Choso already has 1 combo extender, and it disappears after 7 seconds, which is already an insanely long amount of time. My thoughts on the move are pretty simple, in that it's a bit overtuned, but the concept is interesting. First, 7 seconds is a very long time. Enough time that I'm pretty sure you could get in 2 M1 strings with this, which again, Bushogama, but putting aside ABA references, this is pretty broken in a game like JJS, where that could mean a lot of damage. Nobody would actually ragdoll the person he hits to get that blood explosion, unless it did equal or more damage to doing 2 M1 strings, which is the same situation that happened with Focus Strike on Mahito, where nobody used the Black Flash version, where you could combo extend, until Z made some changes that heavily nerfed base Focus Strike. The move's just a little bit too good, and decreasing the active time a little bit, as well as potentially increasing the convergence cost on it, so that you can't get the second combo extender without a high penalty, might balance it out. It's an interesting idea for sure, one I'm just concerned about being way too strong in combos. Choso's 4th move is Crimson Veil, and it's a counter, which already sort of fits the playstyle he's in by helping him punish people who rush him too much to try and stop him from building up orbs. With 0 orbs, it's quite literally just a reskin version of Shutter Doors, which isn't necessarily a bad thing since it still fits the character. However, if you have an orb, then 1 orb will go behind the person you counter, which can then be detonated by pressing 4 again, knocking them towards the user in what I presume is a ragdoll, since if it wasn't, that'd be really overpowered. Overall, it's a simple move without much to talk about, but it works fine. It's a counter to shut down rushdowning that also doubles as a combo starter if the Choso is able to build up orbs. It fits for the character. Finally, Choso has Supernova, which basically acts as a get-off-me tool, or just free damage, if Choso builds up his orbs and doesn't have a combo, or wants to get a free finish. It's an AoE explosion around a user that knocks away anyone hit, with the radius and damage scaling off of orbs used. It personally works in my opinion, since it sounds pretty powerful, but also has a cost to balance it out. It could also force people to not play aggressive once Choso has his orbs stacked up, like a second counter, since if they try to rush in, the Choso can pop Supernova for high damage, knocking them back so that the Choso user can run and use orbs again. It absolutely works as a strong move for Choso that fits his moveset, and I like it. Now, we're going to move on to the Awakening, which abandons the convergence gimmick for Supernova. The way Supernova works is that the user can cancel any of their animations to detonate any active projectiles. This is completely instant and deals high damage, as well as knocking back opponents, which sounds like it could be very strong, if timed right, to get even more value out of projectiles. The first Awakening move for Choso is Extended Grasp, and this one's pretty interesting. If used in the air, it'll act like a grappling hook and pull the user to the spot they hit. If used on the ground, it'll instead grab whoever the user hits and slam them into the ground for what I'm assuming is a ragdoll. This sounds like a great idea for an Awakening in my opinion, and super fun too. It helps Choso play aggressively in his Awakening to stop people from getting away, and shut down a lot of common ways that people run to stop Awakenings. If people are simply far away, Choso can pull them back to combo starts, and if they try to cheese by jumping on buildings or stuff, Choso can grapple up there to catch them. Also, being able to turn into Spider-Man is just super fun, and having a move like that in JJS would definitely be fun if you turned off cooldowns in a private server and started blood slinging or whatever you call this. It's both creative and works as a move. The second Awakening move is Vengeful Blood, and it's simple. It's an auto-tracking projectile that just keeps hitting whoever's marked by it for 8 seconds. This can be blocked, but from what the author wrote, it'll chip through the block a bit to still deal minor damage, and there's no hit stun on it, making the move closer to Rapid Escape than anything else. At first, I was going to complain about the 8 seconds, but since there's no hit stun on it, it really doesn't seem that unbalanced, and even then, balance isn't a huge deal with Awakenings. It'll basically act as constant pressure, forcing whoever's targeted to turn around and block, or focus on defending against the actual awakened Choso and just eat the damage from the projectile, which is really strong, something that is great in an Awakening. The third move is Wing King, and it's pretty unique. The first usage acts as a self-buff, granting a huge speed increase and allowing a double jump, which will absolutely help with stopping people from running away. And pressing it again fires several lasers that deal low damage and no hit stun. After 5 uses of the lasers, the halo disappears, like the Vine Dogs in a sense, and then goes on cooldown. The lasers really don't seem like they'll be all that useful on the surface, but when you think about it a bit more, you could probably stack them with the Supernova ability for massive damage, which is actually pretty nice thinking on the author's parts that gives more value to them. Bit of a tangent, but it's just really fun when suggestions have layers to them, and plenty of text that you can make up in your head. Anyways, the buff applied by Wing King is more than good enough, but the free damage from the lasers is free damage, which is also great. It's a move that works for his Awakening, in my opinion. Finally, we have Vitriolic Wave, and this consumes 5% of the user's health to swipe with a close-range blood wave that ragdolls and creates small blood orbs. These orbs can then be exploded with Supernova for what I'm guessing will be huge damage. The aerial variant does the same, but does a down slam with the Blood Wave instead of a swipe. Personally speaking, the 5% really isn't going to be that significant, so it shouldn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Since the move is close ranged, I don't see this being great for rushing down or neutral, but it really doesn't need to be, since Choso already has 3 moves that serve that purpose just fine. What I see this being used for is probably after Extended Grasp for a combo, following with the user pressing R to get massive damage. It fits well into the Awakening, and honestly speaking, this is one of my favorite Awakenings because everything ties into each other to create an Awakening that can absolutely hold its own, covering its weaknesses and actually being strong like an Awakening is supposed to, without just being boring huge area of effect moves with zero creativity. It's great. Overall, the suggestion is amazing. It has a perfect level of complexity, and what I mean by that is that it has unique gimmicks that set it apart from other characters, as well as a mechanic that forces you to adapt to your playstyle and use the character right, instead of just using it as some boring generic rushdown. However, it's not some overly complicated character with 20 pages of text, 5 passives, and some equally stupid stuff that just makes it way too annoying to read and way too complicated for the average JJS player who's probably still learning their multiplication tables. I'm really impressed with the suggestion, and I can see why it got pinned by the owner, because it is well designed. There's a role the author's trying to make that's actually unique. The moves work to sustain that role, which is a zoner rushdown hybrid that has to keep distance to set up before going in and rushdowning to capitalize off of the orbs they've built up, that is both unique, which is really rare with suggestions, while still being usable, and not just something that gets easily stalled out by running away. It's a 10 out of 10 suggestion for me, and I'd also say it might actually work if it was implemented into the game, at least with some fixes to the things I mentioned. Great job to Thunder Hero 12 for making this, and that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed watching, then please subscribe, since it truly helps me continue to make content, and I really appreciate every single person who subscribes. I'm Eternally, thanks for watching, and have a good day. Bye.